Let's Scare Jessica to Death is a movie I've been meaning to watch for a very long time. I've actually heard about it in passing. I've just never gotten around to it. Honestly, I wasn't too impressed with the movie. I thought it was kind of dull. I honestly fell asleep the first time I tried watching it, so I had to make a second attempt. The film was distributed by Paramount Pictures, released in 1971. It does follow a woman who spent 6 months in an institution. It's not very clear to me whether or not she suffers agoraphobia or if she has some other extreme fear issues. Obviously, her husband's very protective of her as far as things not upsetting or triggering past behaviors. So in order to get a fresh start or just kind of get his wife away from the hustle and bustle of city life, they move out to a Victorian farmhouse. A friend of the family goes along with them, helps them move in. One of the things that I find very ironic, if not foreshadowing, is the fact that they drive into the town in a hearse. One of their first stops is, of course, at a cemetery in which the wife does some gravestone rubbings. That is not a euphemism. And they do meet up with the town folk who are just oddly bandaged, not really too clear what the deal is. They do make it into the home. They find a homeless woman that is staying in the house. Unfortunately, they make the mistake of inviting her to stay, which is possibly their downfall. So later we do learn that the young woman who previously did live in the home drowned on her wedding day. And there's some local rumor about her being a ghost or a vampire or some other such nonsense. Throughout the duration of the film, Jessica does see some things which are supposedly there, supposedly not there. Obviously, one of the things she thought she saw was the homeless woman living in their house, which did turn out to be real. Also, a young mute girl, which has been following her around, is obviously discovered to be real. The ending of the film does come fairly quick. Although the movie is very heavy in atmosphere, it does give the viewer time to study the surroundings, see what they think for themselves. It's obviously very heavy on story. They don't deal with any of the thrills and chills that are mostly thrown at modern day audiences, which is usually a welcome thing. These are things I really do appreciate about movies, especially if they have very high psychological elements. It's just for some reason this story just did not do it for me. Another thing which I didn't like about the film too much is that the title character, Jessica, she comes off to me as being very, very childish, very whiny. She's also just very gawky and very awkward, just the way she stumbles about during certain scenes or word usage, just tone of voice. For some reason, something just about the woman just struck me wrong. She just seemed very odd or rather uncomfortable in her own skin, which I guess was done purposely as the fact that, maybe she has some sort of mental issue. Maybe she is still recovering from a nervous breakdown. I don't know. Maybe she's just not very comfortable with being around people or civilization yet. So it could possibly just be another way of characterizing through emotion, body movement, just the way this character may feel. Everything about that woman just struck me wrong, and she was just an impossible character to want to care about, which unfortunately did carry over to the other characters as well. By the time things did pick up, they were starting to be threatened or pursued. I just basically no longer cared, which was a shame because within a film, with how much development that they did put into it, that's usually the point where you start feeling bad about the characters. You actually do want them to get out of this alive. You want them to make it. And unfortunately, there was just so many things about the story that I just couldn't get into at that point. I was just glad that the movie was close to being over. So Emily obviously seduces the family friend. He eventually vanishes after having called her out on her not being such a very nice person, even though he did try to sleep with her. The husband also does vanish, although he later does reappear, and they have an odd bedroom scene, the husband and the wife, in which they're sort of reconciling. The husband is kissing her, and some of the town folk just gradually drift into the bedroom. It's just a very odd, voyeuristic scene, and I suppose she ignores it because she thinks it's something that she's hallucinating, although once the vampire/ghost woman walks up and cuts her neck slightly, she realizes this is real. She gets up, runs out, tries to escape from the town, eventually gets into a small boat or a dinghy, and we have like a very small, very slight Friday the 13th moment in which a hand pops over the side of the boat and tries to knock her out of the boat. So I just thought that was odd. But the movie itself opens up with a very remorseful, very, very melancholy tones. And as the movie ends, we realize this is exactly where the beginning of the film was. She was obviously reminiscing about her experience. One thing that I really did like about the movie is the fact that they never really fully draw the line. It was never for certain in the film whether she was hallucinating or if all these things really were happening, which to some odd degree kind of reminds me of Valerie and her Week of Wonders. It's maybe not as surrealistic, but it is definitely a journey of the mind and spirit nonetheless. The fact that the story is not spoon-fed to the audience is obviously something I really do like and appreciate. I also do like very high psychological elements. It's just, I would like to been able to get into this movie. Maybe it was just bad timing. Maybe I just wasn't in the correct frame of mind when I did watch it. Would I ever watch it again? Definitely. I'll give it another try. I mean, the film's obviously endured for so long for a reason, and it was a great cast, very well played. I cannot will myself to immediately like something. Maybe it's just one of those sorts of stories that eventually grows on a person. So I will just leave it at that, and I will see you when I see you.